All right, guys, let's see if we can do this one real quick here before the bell rings. Ancient India, River Valley civilization of India. India is what we call a subcontinent. It is a large landmass that juts out from the rest of the continent. And this red is population. The Indian subcontinent has three of the world's 10 most populated countries on it, with India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. And India is protected, similar to Egypt, by outside barriers. Here is the large triangle of India. Up north here we have the massive Himalayan mountains, and over here to the west is the Hindu Kush, forming a shield along with the great Indian Ocean that keeps it safe. This big triangle area is the Deccan Plateau, vicious, harsh desert that was difficult to maneuver through. So people were separated by geographic barriers and large distances, making India difficult to unite. And over here on the coastlines, the eastern and western Ghats is where most people live. So if there's a storm, a typhoon, tsunami, it makes it very difficult for the people. Once again, here's the well-watered northern plain. This is like the Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska of India, looking down from the Himalayas on the well-watered northern plain. Here is the Deccan Plateau, this nasty, harsh, difficult desert, and then the lush tropical area of the coastlines. And the rivers that give life to India, we have the Ganges and the Brahmaputra up here, and the great Indus River here running through what is modern day Pakistan. Here is a look at the river, and when it floods it gets really high. But outside of this area it's very difficult to live in. So in India, if you can see from this picture, everything is very tightly compacted, similar to people in Egypt living right along the Nile River. Monsoons are seasonal winds that in April and May will bring moisture from the Indian Ocean and dump it all over India, flooding everything. All right, giving the life-giving water to India. But in October, September, October, this time of year, the wind reverses course and it becomes hot and dry. This is the same riverbed. We've got, you see the bridge and hear cattle grazing, when normally this is underwater. So India is not only the river valley civilization that has settled not once but twice, but it also doesn't depend on a river flooding for its survival, but by seasonal winds or monsoons. The early Indus River Valley civilization will take shape around 2500 BC, and it will exist for 1,000 years. It is at this time that the twin cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro are going to be built. And Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro are nearly identical, with Harappa being a little bigger, but they were cookie-cutter neighborhoods. The houses, the governmental buildings, the temples were all in the exact same places. So you could go from Harappa, let's say, to Mohenjo-Daro, go right to your neighborhood, go right to your house, but there would be somebody else living there. The cities were laid out in perfect rectangles or squares. The roads ran east and west and north and south, with the main east-west, north-south roads being a little bigger and wider, leading to a central plaza. And they had advanced plumbing, sewer systems to carry wastewater away, and everything was uniform, weights and measures, so that it made trade and travel between both cities very easy. But once again, the key thing to remember about monumental architecture, to have two cities built identically at the same time, 120 miles apart, shows us they had strong central authority, they were highly organized building materials and labor, and a knowledge of complex mathematics. Then for whatever reason in 1500 BC, the civilization disappeared. For reasons we do not understand, everyone just vanished. And so here, up here in the Caucasus Mountains of southern Russia, are Indo-Europeans, Aryans. And they begin to migrate out of Russia. They cross, they go down into Turkey, into Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, and finally they get to the Indus River Valley civilization. They're like, yes! After traveling through the desert for hundreds of years with their cows, goats, and sheep, they made it to the lush Indus River Valley, and there was nobody there. They're going, hello, hello, hello. Anybody there, there, there? And they're like, man, there's no one here. We are going to settle. War leaders led the group across Asia, and once they got into the Indus and Ganges river valleys, they didn't need warriors anymore, and priest kings took over. But as soon as they get into contact with the Middle East and China, war leaders come back and they begin to take over. They're known as Rajas, or fierce war leaders like Jasmine's tiger and Miss Rajan next door. All right. Aryans measured their worth in terms of cattle. The more cows you owned, the more wealthy you were. Kind of strange for us, but it worked for them. In around 500 BC, India is made up of different rival kingdoms that kind of took over and captured the Dravidians, or the natives, right there. And it's here where native culture and Aryan culture begins to blend and form what we know as modern Indian civilization. This is what we know as the Vedic age. The Aryans brought with them their ideas on religion, and the Vedas are a collection of hymns and prayers and rituals that were orally passed down for about 1,000 years. And then they are written down. And from this we now know of early civilization. The fourth Veda is the important one. It's known as the Rig Veda. And it's from here that we learn about ancient Indian culture. One of the things the Vedas do is they describe the social class system. And so there's government and there is religion that's going to intertwine to be a justification for where you are within your social class. So there's a very, very strict hierarchy. On top there are Brahmins. And a Brahmin is simply a priest or member of the priestly class. And step 2 are the Kshatriyas. And they are warriors used to protect the ancient Indian civilization. And what the Vedas are doing are describing what will eventually become known as the caste system. A social class into which you are born and from which there is no escape. The last third place are the Vyas. This is about 90% of societies. Farmers, merchants, artisans. This is pretty much everybody in Indian society. And on the bottom, we have the Shudras, the criminals or the untouchables. They do the nasty, dirty, difficult labor, burying the dead, taking out like the waste and the garbage. That is reserved for the Shudras. And so that is how Aryan civilization is going to grow for a long time. It's called the Vedic Age of India, which will run all the way to 500 BC, where we will give way to the classical age of the Maurya dynasty, which parallels ancient Greece, which we'll talk about when we get there. The other thing ancient India gives us is they are the first to cultivate and weave cotton into cloth, the touch and the feel of cotton, the fabric of our lives. So that's a quick look at India. We will do China here on Monday, and you guys should have everything you need to get ready for the first and biggest AP test of the year. Talk to you guys soon.